Hey guys, it's John Dean coming back at you from Nomad Happy Hour. Today we have Jerry. Jerry, I met out here at Senator's Wash near the Proving Grounds in, I believe it's California we're in, on the other side.
It's
of
California
everything.
here, but if you look over on the other side of the water, it's Arizona.
Arizona. So we're that close. It's kind of crazy that just the water separates a line like that.
We're so close that we keep arguing about what time it is because somebody's cell phone will pick up Arizona and somebody's will pick up California and we'll say, okay, we're going to meet at 2 o'clock and it's all messed up.
And nobody's there on time.
Right. Or somebody's early.
Have you been here before, Jerry?
Yeah, we spent Christmas here. You get a permit here for $75 and it's federal, but it's different than the long-term visitor area. It's several places around here in Arizona that you can use for 2 weeks at a time.
Can you use it outside of Arizona? Do you know of?
That's a really good question. Well, yes, because the place over there by Hippie Hole is California. We're in California,
We're in
so
California.
we are outside
of
Arizona.
Okay, so can we use it outside of California? I guess is what I was.
Yes, because you can use it in Arizona. So
Got it.
I got you
All
covered both ways.
All questions.
So ask me,
there.
can you use it in Colorado? I have no idea.
So California, Arizona, we got it covered. So you're rolling around here in a motorhome. This thing's like as big as a shuttle bus, huh? How long have you been in
I
this
think
thing?
it's bigger than a shuttle bus.
Is
It's
it?
a 40-foot diesel pusher, yes.
Oh, man. How long have you been in this motorhome?
We bought this in 2016, so I guess that's going on 5 years.
Did you have another rig before that?
Oh, many.
Many.
The one just most recently before this was a 1988 33-foot Southwind.
Wow.
And we love that, but, you know, as you age, you get a little larger in the tummy and the butt.
Need a little bit more space? Is
We
that what you're getting
we needed
at?
a slide to be able to pass in the hall.
And you're not doing that van life shuffle in one of these things, that's for sure.
I've done the van life shuffle years ago. I was van lifing before van lifing was a thing.
I guess that kind of goes to one of my questions that I have is how long have you been on the road? How long have you been living the nomad life?
Well, I'm not a full-timer.
Okay.
I'm here like 5-6 months a year in the RV, and then the rest of the time I live at my home in Old Mexico. But before I tell you about Old Mexico, I want to answer your question.
Yes.
How long have I been doing this?
Yes.
Let's see. For 7 years in a row, between the ages of 7 and 14, my father took me to Yellowstone Park, the whole family, camping for his 2-week vacation. And that was in the 1950s.
So did you guys travel often as kids?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Yeah. And I'm guessing not just Yellowstone all the time, just...
Well, camping. The question was, how long have I been camping? I'm not camping this is not camping.
No, this is glamping.
Well, whatever. But I don't consider myself to be camping, living in a 40-foot motorhome. But camping, I've been doing this kind of lifestyle where you're not hooked up to electricity and stuff for all my life. And I was a boater for years, and there's no plug-ins for a boat unless you're in a marina either.
No, there is not. I haven't actually lived on the water before. It seems like it would be a little bit interesting to be out there and have nothing around. I mean, I guess we do it in our rigs as we do now, but I think in the last year I've gotten so used to traveling with numerous of people that I like having a tribe around.
There's a lot of similarities with regard to, the community and pulling into, one little bay and finding, other people that you can hang around with and so on, and visiting each other with your dinghy or going fishing together. There's all that kind of stuff, but we finally figured out you can go a lot more places with wheels than you can with propellers.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the whole world, of course, you can go a lot more places with a boat. But if you're just traveling around the United States, you're pretty limited to the coast and a couple of big rivers like the Mississippi and the Columbia, and maybe the Ohio and the inner waterways. But you can't get to Colorado.
No, you cannot. Not on a larger boat that you live on, anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe if you were rafting down one of the rivers in Colorado, you'll be able to explore it that way.
That's like living in a tent.
And that's not happening. At least not these days, right?
That's not happening for me anymore, no.
No. So what got you out to traveling other than you grew up, camping and hanging out with family traveling? But I mean, like, did you...
We've always enjoyed it, and we had an older motorhome even before that in Oregon. We lived in Portland, Oregon for a number of years, and my dad bought a brand new 1972 Champion motorhome, a 20-foot motorhome, when he retired in 1972, and he and Mom traveled around the country for years, and then they left it in Oregon for us kids, my brother and I.
And us kids, still in the family?
Us kids were in our 40s then.
Okay.
And so we used that with our kids, my brother and I, and just mostly weekend stuff, but still. It counts as going RVing.
You mentioned that you took your kids out camping. How many kids do you have, Jerry?
We have 3. We have 2 who are born to us, and one who was just sort of like abandoned and lived with us for 9 years.
Okay. You're taking on the responsibility that somebody else doesn't want to do anymore, right?
Well, it was a little more complicated than that, but she was just like living with her friends, and our daughter was one of her friends that summer, and we got to the time for school to start, and we said, hey, here's your room, here's your closet, here's the rules, and she was with us for 9 years, so she's like part of the family.
That's pretty nice of someone like you to take on a child like that.
Well, I did at one point go to her real father and say, are you using her as a tax deduction? Because I'm going to.
She's been at my house more than yours. So out here at Senator's Wash, we've been having some pretty fun times out exploring, out four-wheeling. I see that you've had your Jeep out in these trails. How long have you been four-wheeling in the Jeep?
Well, this Jeep, I just bought this Jeep. Before that, I had a 1989 Suzuki Sidetrack, and I was following these Razor guys around with that, the last few years. But I bought this Jeep. I actually bought it online. I was in Mexico, and I bought it in Dallas. I flew up to Dallas and picked it up and drove it out here to meet the motorhome. And so I've had it since last October. I had some suspicions about whether or not it was going to be a real Jeep and be able to keep up with the Razors.
Yeah, and what is your experience?
Well, you were out there the other day.
I saw you coming over there.
Is it a real Jeep?
I would say so. I've never actually driven these new Jeeps. You were mentioning something about how they have like an independent braking system.
Okay, in the Jeep community, I think that people kind of look down upon the Jeep Liberty. This is a 2011 Jeep Liberty, but it's trail rated, and it's a real Jeep underneath, okay? And one of the hills that we went up the other day is the first time that I had experienced, they call it differential braking.
Okay.
So if one wheel's spinning, the computer applies the brakes so that the power will go to a different wheel. And that's how I was able to get up the hill to follow you guys in those Razors.
You mentioned something about when it's coming down, though. I think each tire...
It has hill
descent.
It's
hill
called.
Descent.
And it's yeah, we were on some pretty steep stuff.
There was. I didn't know if you were holding the brakes or taking your time coming over.
Oh, did you see that one place where I was showing off and I said, look, no hands. And then I stuck my leg out the window because I wanted to show you I wasn't using my feet to brake either.
Oh, okay.
It's totally
I was
the
wondering
car.
why you were doing that. I thought you were just clowning around.
Well, I was just clowning around, but then Rady had to say, hey, you're running off the road.
Hey, at least someone is looking out for your back there.
Yeah. All's well that ends well, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I got down the hill.
And in one piece. The vehicle didn't flip.
Yeah, but
Nothing broke.
on a couple of other hills then, we went to a couple more steep places. And that last one, before we got into a wash, my hill descent stuck. I couldn't go. I got down on the flat, and the brakes were all locked up.
So did you have to like turn it off and then turn it back on, or how did you?
That's what I did it once. It didn't work. It didn't work. Brakes are just totally locked. It wouldn't come loose. So I think maybe I took the hill descent off while I was still in up on the hill or something. I don't know. I'm still learning.
What'd you say you had before this? The Jeep?
A Suzuki Sidekick, just like that one you hear running right now.
Bruce's Sidekick behind us. Of course, he decides to start it up when we're trying to record, right?
Yeah. And I love that car. I had that car for like 20 years. I loved that. I love that little car. It was like part of the family. It was like watching your kids go off to college.
Our rigs that we live in and travel in, and they get us around to the places that we want to go. It definitely does end up feeling like a part of the family.
Absolutely.
You feel like a connection to it.
Yeah.
I've had a rig in the past where you feel like there is no connection, so it's almost, just get rid of it and find another one.
Well, if it breaks down a lot and costs you a lot of money, it's like, get that child out of here.
Exactly. So you were mentioning that you guys are originally from Oregon?
We lived in Oregon for a lot of years. Our kids were born in Oregon, so they are Oregonians, but we've never really considered ourselves Oregonians. I grew up in South Dakota.
Okay.
Lynn and I lived in California for a few years before we moved to Oregon. So, yeah, we were 27 years lived in Portland, Oregon.
What did you do in Portland? I mean,
well, my standard answer for this, and on my YouTube channel, I get to ask this all the time, and I'm always kind of reticent to actually say whatever I did. I used to own some businesses, but my standard answer is rodeo clown.
Rodeo clown? Yeah, I can see that.
I used to be a rodeo clown. Yeah. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey guys, if you come up with a story, stick to it, because if not, you get caught up in your lies. So, Portland, Oregon as a rodeo clown.
There's actually a story behind that if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so...
I love stories.
There's a thing in Mexico. It's called a border promotion, okay? So if you live in Mexico and you get to know everybody, and suddenly people say, well, what did you used to do? Maybe you were a nurse, but you give yourself a border promotion and you say, oh, I was a doctor. It's called a border promotion. So Lynn and I are driving south one year in our old motorhome, and we're saying, okay, hey, we should come up with our own border promotions. And my wife Lynn says, I think I'm going to be a forensic psychologist or something. And I said, well, I guess I'll just be a rodeo clown. So that was the end of the conversation. 6 months later, we have some cousins who are visiting us down there, and we're in a restaurant in Tlaquepaque, which is a suburb of Guadalajara, Mexico. And this guy walks in. He's like a dude, he's got like the jeans tucked into his boots and his cowboy boots, and he's got those little arrows at the end of the pocket things. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
a gabardine
like that.
So this is a guy, I said something to him like, nice dudes, dud, or nice duds, dude. Mm-hmm. And he stops and he's talking to us, and he says he's a rodeo photographer. And this is 6 months after that conversation, which never went anywhere. And my wife says, oh, Jerry used to be a rodeo clown. And my cousins go, what? and so we just started telling everybody I was a rodeo clown. And a lot of the people that we associate with down there in Mexico still think that I was a rodeo clown.
Well, hopefully they're not listening.
Well, if you play volleyball and stuff, you have to say things like, you're not nearly as scary as the bull.
Oh, boy.
Or, ladies and gentlemen, did you hear that horse buck? A couple of lines like that and you're in.
Man, we got these hummingbirds that just come up to your rig.
Yeah, I wonder if the mic's picking those up, because they're they're 4 feet from our face.
Yeah, the mic doesn't go that far on this one. Maybe on the next one it'll end up.
Well, a while ago it was just hovering right here, a foot from my face, I think telling me that it's time to fill the hummingbird feeder.
Probably. Oh. So I noticed I was watching a couple of your videos today.
JC Travel Stories.
Yeah. I noticed that you, out here at camp, we had some visitors out on the lake. We had some jet skiers. And I noticed that you called in for some backup.
Oh,
Can you explain what your backup was on this video? We got rid of the jet skiers. Let's just say that.
Well, it's a special effects program.
Yeah.
I called in I don't know what kind of fighter jet it was, but he did a strafing run on him. it uh, all in good fun.
Right. No, yeah, all in good fun. It was just funny in the video. People utilized dragons, some people utilized birds. It was just bringing in a fighter pilot to get the people off the lake.
Yeah, well, those weekenders, they have some different um, um, ways of thinking about things than we do. We're out here because we enjoy the tranquility and the beauty,
Hmm.
and they're out here because they want to make noise.
Well, that and they try to put all their fun in within one day, or
Yeah,
two
well,
days
that's
of a
true.
weekend. We get to live out here and spread all of our fun out and not have to worry about going back home to the whole 9 to 5 life, the bricks and mortar. These guys come out here for the
Right.
weekend and blow off some steam.
And exactly. And after I complained about all of that in my video, of course, as you remember,
Hmm.
I said the only real problem with those noisy things is that I don't have one.
Yeah, I was mentioning to Aja yesterday. I said, somebody needs a jet ski out here. We got
Yeah,
side by sides.
right.
We got 4-wheel drive vehicles to go have fun with. Somebody needs to get a couple jet skis.
Let's not forget about my tricycle.
Oh yeah, the tricycle. How long have you been riding around on a 3-wheeled electric bike?
I got it in November, and I got the three wheels because last year, for years, I carried a little Honda 90 trail bike on the back, a motorized motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, I laid it down in the desert out there at American Girl Mine, west of Yuma. I'm very fortunate I didn't break my leg or something because I went over a little berm and there's no tracks in the sand for about 6 feet. Flopped down on the side and my leg was in another hole. I hit a hole in the front tire, fortunately came out of it, and I flew. And I was actually following Bruce on his motorcycle, and he's got a real motorcycle.
I was just gonna say, I hope somebody was out there with you.
Yeah, no, I was following him, but I was getting behind, so I decided to take a shortcut. Anyway, I laid it down and was very fortunate not to break my leg, and got up and said, I think it's time for me to get rid of the motorcycle. So I started looking for an electric bicycle, and then I figured out that they make them with 3 wheels, and that's even more fun.
Yeah. Do you get stuck in this thing anywhere, or does it go
I've
pretty
been
much?
places you wouldn't think. You ought to go with that thing, like in and out of the washes and up and down hills. And
Mm-hmm.
with a bicycle, you have basically one wheel drive. I have front wheel electric and back wheel pedaling. So
Okay.
I got 2-wheel drive in that thing. It goes up the hills pretty good if you're pedaling a little bit.
How does it do out in the weather, like in rain or wet weather?
Well, I haven't had it in the rain. I've had it in the lake.
In the lake. It's not a pontoon.
Well, yeah, I did that the other day, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, electric bicycles and water. That's a good idea." No, I was just driving around in the lake a little bit to wash the tires off.
Because you're taking this thing out mud and you think it was your old dirt bike or your old enduro.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's front wheel drive, so I got into some mud, and the front wheel spun and threw mud all over me. So anyway, I was in the lake washing it. Everybody thought probably not classed as a water vehicle.
Maybe we need to put some paddles on the back of it. So you
Sure, let's try it tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We're just going to go to town and grab some and put them on. So you mentioned before something about that you have a home in Mexico part of the year.
We do.
Before, though, that we go into that, how often are you guys down there and how often are you guys here in the United States?
Well, it's changed since we got this motorhome.
Mm-hmm.
So the last 5 years, we've been up here in the States like 5 months of the year, and the rest of the time back home in Mexico. And when I say home in Mexico, I'm not talking about I got a house in Mexico. It's our principal residence, and we're legal permanent residents of Mexico.
Okay.
United States citizens, and we don't have dual citizenship. We're not citizens of Mexico, but we are legal residents. So 5 months up here in the RV, and the rest of the year, see, 5 from 12, that'd be 7, right?
7 months out of the year.
7 in Mexico. That's been the the circuit the last 5 years.
And 5 here in the United States then.
5 months and 7 months, yeah.
Yep.
This year it's going to be a little longer because our passports expired in January, and we've renewed them. And at the time I did it, they said they weren't doing expedited service because of COVID. It's going to take 10 to 12 weeks, and that puts us into April, which we usually would be going home in sometime in March.
Is there anything though that would, disappoint you from not going back at the same time all the time, or are you guys okay with that? You just find another place to stay, or would you stay here at Senator's Wash?
Well, you can only be here 2 weeks, so we move around. There's lots of places in Arizona and California and places to
just
RV.
wait until the visa comes through.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Frankly, we love Mexico and we love living there, and we have a very wonderful home. When we're at home in Mexico, we are anticipating getting back to the RV life, the nomad life.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in the nomad life, we're not dreading, but we're not excited about going back home. It's like it's something ending instead of something beginning. You know what I'm saying?
So would you guys rather be on the road in the RV than at home in Mexico? Then it kind of sounds that way, but
we love both. Okay, but I would say we like RVing more. But you have to understand that living in Mexico can be, exciting and challenging, and it's something that we did. But we moved down there 20 years ago. We moved down there when we were 55. I'm 75 years old. At the age of 55, I figured out I probably didn't have to work anymore. And
as a rodeo clown.
Yeah, exactly. And we moved to Mexico. You can't work as a rodeo clown at 56.
No, not anymore.
See, that's fitting right into the story.
There you go.
Anyway, we went down there, and part of it was the cost of health care. My wife has some problems. I had lost some business contracts, so my income was not going away, but going to be less than it had been for many years. And we decided we needed to downsize and find a place that we could get a better deal for the money we had to live on. And we found Mexico to be that. So we went down there, and at the age of 55, then we didn't have health care in the United States after we canceled our Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't come to the United States for more than a day or two to see family or something for 10 years until we got to be 65, and then we got a Medicare. So now I have Medicare and supplement, so I can financially risk being in the United States.
Kind of sounds like there's something about medical challenges that brought you guys to Mexico, or other reasons that did you guys just like being down there, or?
Well, we absolutely like being down there, and we wouldn't be down there if we didn't like it and love it. Mm-hmm. Love the people, love the lifestyle, love the culture, and the area that we live in is kind of special. It's on the north shore of Lake Chapala, where we live. There's a lot of retirees and expats, so we live in an area that has a lot of really good restaurants, and social life, if you need that, and it's very easy to navigate your way around a foreign country when there's a lot of other foreigners that live there, because there are facilities that cater to you.
It's pretty nice that you have those options, though, to live in both places.
Well, it is, and you asked me, which one do I like better? The fact is that what I really like is having both options. I like the fact that I have
your cake and eat it too.
Exactly. I have a diverse set of living circumstances that a lot of people don't enjoy.
Mm-hmm. What would you say that some people don't enjoy about it?
About Mexico?
Like the challenges, possibly.
Well, there are a lot of people who move to Mexico, and they think it's going to be wonderful, and they find it so frustrating that they don't make it down there. There are a lot of people who come down in there, as tourists, and they say, "Oh yeah, this is wonderful, man! I love the food, I love the people, I love the culture."
They're having a blast.
They're having a great time. Yeah. They buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of years, they figure out that all of those things that attracted them are still there, but all of those things that they miss back here are not.
Right.
Yeah. And living in a different culture and country can be very challenging in terms of the world just doesn't always work the way it used to back home. I can't think of an example right off the top of my head at the moment. Actually, I can. Building codes, for instance. You know, I built a lot of my house.
The house in Mexico you built yourself?
I bought 2 properties and I built a living room between the 2 houses to join the 2 houses. It's pretty neat.
I haven't seen the pictures yet. You mentioned that you were going to show them, but I haven't seen them yet.
Well, it's 3 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a swimming pool, and it's a half acre of gardens on lakefront property. So it's pretty special.
It sounds amazing.
It is. We have 13 palm trees.
How do you go about finding something like that in that area? Like, I mean, of course, like here, you just hit up a real estate agent.
Well, same thing down there is a real estate agent.
Real estate agent.
The hills are alive with real estate agents.
So the house that you have down there, is it off grid?
No. Public utilities.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not connected to the city sewer. I have septic tank. They don't call it septic tanks down there. It's a little bit different, but basically that's how it works. We have electricity. My neighbor has solar. She pumps credits back into the system. And she's only there like 6 months of the year, so I'm telling you, hey, how's that credits working? How about if I just run an extension cord over there?
I'll use the other 6 months.
Although it's really not necessarily money-wise because the rates are great anyway. I mean,
when you guys go back and forth, drive like the RV home, and then you drive it back here to the States, or
20 years ago, 20 years ago we'd drive back and forth between Portland, Oregon, and Guadalajara. And people say, well, how long does it take to drive 3,000 miles? I said, about a month and a half.
on a good day.
Because we just take our time.
Right. I mean, we're not living.
But none of this stuff. The RV, the Jeep, the tricycles, the motorcycle, it doesn't go to Mexico because we are permanent legal residents of Mexico, and we are precluded from having foreign plated, U.S. plated vehicles in the country. It's the same in the United States. If you move from state to state, you have 30 days to get your car re-registered.
Yeah.
Well, re-registered in a different country is a little bit more of an involved process. Plus, you have to pay a duty. And paying a duty on a 40-foot diesel pusher Monaco would be a little bit.
A duty would be like what comparison? Like
16 to 20% of the value, and they get to pick the value
to get it into the country. Or like that's what I'm asking. Like the duty is
to import it.
Okay.
To
fee
import
to get it imported.
The term is nationalize it, but yeah, to get Mexican plates. Okay. I have a Dodge van down there that I nationalized years ago. It's a 1994 Dodge van, and I nationalized it in like 2005 or 6. I took it down there, and it cost me like $800 for the dues and the fees and stuff to nationalize it, when they picked a value of it of about, at the time, $4,000 or something. So about 25%. And 25% of the value of this motorhome you're sitting by, that would be prohibitive.
It's not worth it.
So anyway, this stuff all stays in Arizona. We fly home. That was your question. Do we drive down there? No, we don't drive. We fly.
Leave the RV in storage and then fly down and fly back to the RV when you guys want to come back to the States. Basically.
Exactly.
What in the beginning drew you guys to Mexico? Is it the lifestyle? Is it the area?
Well, we lived in Southern California for a while before we had kids, my wife and I. And so we would go down to Ensenada, not Tijuana so much, just traveling through it, but Ensenada, Baja and stuff, and loved Mexico. And my parents, after they quit driving that old motorhome we were talking about, it was a new motorhome to them, they bought a place in Brownsville, Texas. So I had been to Brownsville and, across the border into Matamoros and hung around. And I never really traveled a lot in Mexico. but we were very aware of, Mexican culture and as tourists. So we just liked it. Once you get away from the border
Mm-hmm.
and tourist areas, international tourist areas, it's kind of a different country. Yeah, if you go to Puerto Vallarta, it's like you're going to have timeshare salesmen chasing you around. And you're going to have drunk 20-year-olds from California.
Just out down there partying away.
Yeah. And yeah, it's that party scene. And that's not the kind of lifestyle that we live up in the middle of the country, 200 miles from the beach, 200 kilometers.
One thing that I was always curious about, because I've been wanting to do, you mentioned Baja, and I've been wanting to do a Baja trip.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way for Americans to go down there, let's say 3 to 6 months, and get work? Or do you have to bring the money that you have and just go down and survive off of that?
I can't speak to Baja in particular because it's a little bit different in different states of Mexico. There are 32 states in Mexico.
Okay.
But I can speak to Jalisco. And I think this is probably federal law. You need a work permit to work in Mexico. And in order to get a work permit, you have to prove that you have a skill that some Mexican can't do. That's one of the qualifications. And that's not a strict one. It's limited to certain kinds of things. Like a lot of people can go down there and be a real estate agent. But you still have to get a work permit. And getting a work permit requires a certain level of immigration status above being a temporary resident.
And obviously you have to file for all that before you go down there and get all this clarified before you're allowed.
That's correct. You can't go to Mexico on a tourist visa, which is maximum 180 days, and work down there legally. Now, again, I don't want to sound flippant about it, but it is Mexico, and a lot of things happen that aren't necessarily legal.
Well, I mean, that happens everywhere. Some places more
There's
than
a lot.
others.
There's under the table job opportunities, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, don't go down there thinking that you're going to make U.S. wages.
Well, no.
The minimum legal wage in Mexico City right now is about $12 a day.
A day?
A day.
Holy shit. No wonder they're coming over here and getting work.
Well, that doesn't mean that a lot of them do, but I was watching a thing a few days ago about wages in Mexico, and teachers make about $400 a month. Doctors make, it was 38,000 pesos, which is $1,200 to $1,400 a month, $1,500 a month.
You got to be making the wages that are equivalent to what you're buying, or
Well, right,
what the price is on everything that's around you. Like we wouldn't be at $15 an hour minimum wage if we didn't have to make that much to spend that much.
Well, there are two economies. There are two economical things, and one of them is labor, and the other one is housing. Okay, food, you're going to basically spend what you spend for food. It's a little cheaper in Mexico, but it's not a lot cheap. When I come up here to the United States, I have sticker shock about some things. Gas costs more, gasoline costs more in Mexico. Meat costs as much here as if you're shopping on sale at Safeway, okay?
Right.
I mean, you can pay more, but still. It's going to be difficult to find a $30 a pound steak in Mexico. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, hamburger.
Yeah.
But housing is a lot less expensive, not only to buy it, but to pay property tax on it. My property taxes, are you sitting down?
I am. I might fall over, though, if you tell me.
My house is worth between $500,000 and $600,000,
Mm-hmm.
and my property taxes are $300 a year.
A year?
A year, and that includes garbage 3 days a week.
What?
Yeah.
That's it. I'm moving to Mexico.
I have rental houses in Oregon, frankly, I live in myself.
Right. That you
that I'm
get
paying
paid more.
$2,000 or $2,500 a month for.
Oh yeah, I've stayed in Oregon. I've rented in Oregon.
Yeah.
And
So that's one thing, is housing is a lot less expensive down there in terms of, whether you're renting or buying. And the other thing is labor. Like, if you need a plumber, it's not an arm and a leg. They're not licensed to steal.
no.
Like plumbers and electricians here, and mechanics. People ask me if I'm like, traveling up north in Mexico going towards the border of the United States. Aren't you afraid of the cartels? I said, no, but as soon as I cross the border into the United States, I am scared to death. The doctors, lawyers, and mechanics.
Well, I'm guessing the cartels don't mess with you unless you mess with them, kind of thing.
If you're not doing drugs, selling drugs, or making drugs,
doing something that they're doing,
don't worry about the cartels.
Yeah.
Cartels. It's a transportation business in Mexico. The market is here in the United States. There's a lot more cartel activity in the United States than there is in Mexico. People think that's bullshit, but I'm telling you, they're made in Latin America or South America. They're transported through Mexico to the market, and the market is the United States of America. That's where the drug problem is.
It's not everywhere around it. Everybody's bringing it to us because we have the people to sell it to.
Yeah. So, if you think you're not by a cartel in the United States, you don't really know what's going on.
So a lot of people in the nomad world, they get scared of traveling over the borders into Mexico because of the quote unquote cartel and the dangerous things that we see on the news and whatnot like that. Since you live there, do people have a worry of going and traveling there?
Yes, but look at it from the other way around. If you lived out of the United States for a while and you watch news that's not CNN or U.S.-based news, you'd be scared to death to come to the United States.
If I lived out of the United States and saw how many people are dying right now in the United States, yeah, I probably wouldn't come here either. Since you guys do travel back and forth into the United States, and you guys
we're legal permanent residents. We have our immigration status in Mexico is permanente, which means that we are permanent legal residents and free to come and go as we please in Mexico. But we're citizens of the United States.
Now, how does that work when you're here in the United States with health factors or health benefit? Does that contribute back and forth?
No, there's no. In the United States, we have Medicare and a Medicare supplement, so we're fully covered in the United States. In Mexico, Medicare doesn't pay in Mexico. Medicare doesn't pay outside of the United States.
Oh, really?
So the supplement that we have is good for $20,000 worth of emergency care anywhere in the world. Basically, we're not covered outside of the United States the way we are covered in the United States. But we have other insurance in Mexico. Personal insurance is widely available, costs about $2,500 a year, and it's for the private health insurance industry, and the health insurance and the health services are very good.
Would you say better than the United States?
In some regards, yes. For instance, doctors still run the healthcare system in Mexico, not insurance companies, corporate boards.
Right.
So you will have many people who say that the bedside manner and the amount of time a doctor will spend with you is much better.
More one-on-one with their
When I go to my doctor in Ajijic, Mexico, the cost is 400 pesos, which right now with the exchange rate is around $20.
It's pretty cheap to go see
for an office visit.
Right.
And he might spend an hour with me.
Compared to
usually doesn't have to spend an hour with me because I'm a pretty healthy guy. But no, it's not about some insurance company or hospital board telling you only have 10 minutes per patient, okay? Which is what's going on in the United States. There's that difference. As far as facilities, the healthcare industry in Guadalajara, city of 5 million, is world class. There's no deficiencies in that. There is another healthcare system in Mexico, and we are members of that. It's called IMSS, and it's government health insurance, and it's health insurance for the masses. It's required by employers are required to provide this health insurance to their employees, but you can
Automatically, you just
yeah,
have a job and you get health care?
yeah. The employer is required to pay for it.
Okay.
You can opt in though, as a legal resident. You can opt in. Can't do it as a tourist. It's our premiums are $400 per person per year, and the hospital I'm assigned to is built 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors are very good. Meds are included.
Included within the visit,
in the system.
Okay, within the system.
There's no co-pays. There's no cash register in the system. It's just if you're part of this government healthcare services, this is what you're going to pay. Now, it is healthcare for the masses. It's socialized medicine, and like other places in the world, you hear stories about long waits to see a specialist or something like that. That's certainly true. And you might have an appointment at 8:30 in the morning at the big government hospital, and by 4:30 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe it's your turn.
So pack a lunch.
Yeah. But for the cost, I mean, hey, $400 a year?
Right, you can't beat that.
We use it as, I personally use it as catastrophic insurance, okay? Like if something really big happens, I'm covered.
Mm-hmm.
For just regular stuff, like, I got a cold or I break my finger or something, I'm just going. Lynn had a cracked rib, not just cracked, it was disjointed and the ends passed each other, a broken rib a couple of years ago. Went to the hospital. Now, this is private. We paid for this. There's no insurance involved here, okay?
Okay.
No insurance, no coverage, no nothing. This is not the government system. This is private care at a brand new hospital. And the total bill for her being x-rayed, wrapped, prescribed for stuff, whatever.
The whole visit, the whole
thing.
Mm-hmm.
$78.
What?
Yeah. And they gave me an extra wrap for her.
Well, they threw it in. That was nice.
Well, they didn't throw it in. I charged me for it. But
right.
Total.
So here, if you don't use something, they're like, we'll just
$78. $78 total for that visit.
Yeah, you can't even go in and talk to a doctor here for that much for that little.
No, not at all. It might even be that much for just your copay with your insurance.
Maybe, if not more.
Anyway, so that's one of the great economies. My wife has some problems, and she gets her meds from that government system, and it's a lot more than $400 a year worth of meds. I can tell you that.
So it's definitely beneficial for some people to go down there and check out
It is, and it's a little more difficult to get into that system than it used to be 20 years ago when we got into it. So we're grandfathered in for a lot of things, okay? So I don't want people to think that, they can go down there and, get in on that right away without.
Do you know what the process is like now to get into this?
Yeah. You go and apply, and you have to take a physical, and pre-existing conditions are excluded for a couple of years at least. And if you have terrible pre-existing conditions, they're not going to accept you.
Okay.
So it's not like years ago when we did it, 20 years ago, it was like,
I just had those same...
Pay the pesos and go see the doctor.
I just had those same not same, of course, but situations like that happen here where insurance says that everything's covered, and then I go in and it was a pre-existing situation which they didn't say anything about, but of course it's in fine print.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, you're paying thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, for a situation that it's like, I can't change if it was pre-existing or not. I still need help.
that you have hit upon the reason that we decided to stay in Mexico. We were going down there 6 months at a time. In our old motorhome, we'd go down there 6 months. We'd park the motorhome in storage, and we'd rent a house for 6 months. And then we'd get back to the motorhome and come back to the States. Mm-hmm. That's what we did. We did that for 3 years, and then we bought a house, and everything changed. But when we decided to stay there and buy a house, it had to do with the cost of medicine. For 3 years, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon, I would pay for her medicines in Mexico, prescription medicines, although they required prescriptions in the States. Most of them did not require prescriptions in Mexico, so I would just buy them at the Guadalajara pharmacy over the counter. And
Which is the same meds again, back in
well, yeah,
Oregon.
manufactured in the United States, most of them. Okay, so anyway, and that's part of the story. So, and then you have to get a special receipt. You can't just get a cash register receipt. You got to get what's called a factura. And it's a very special receipt in Mexico that proves that you paid it. Okay. Anyway, the insurance requires facturas, not just cash register receipts. For 3 years, they paid. I would come back to the States, and after 6 months, it would be about $8,000 that they would reimburse me. The next year, we came back, and they said, no, we're not paying that. I said, why not? Well, we don't pay for anything that's not approved by the FDA. I said, well, you did it for 3 years. Well, what do you mean it's not approved by the FDA? The FDA doesn't approve anything in Spanish. So.
But isn't it approved and made before it's sent down there?
They changed the names into Spanish on the box when it goes to Mexico. Because it's the same drug made in the same U.S. factory, but it's like Modiodal instead of Prednisone or something like that. I don't know those names, but they just changed the name into Spanish. And they say, well, we're not paying for anything not approved by the FDA. The FDA doesn't list anything in Spanish. It lists it in English. I say, you can't change on me. You have to notify me.
Right.
They said, no, it's always been in there. We don't pay for anything like that. We don't pay.
So if it's always been in there, they've been missing that then? They've
been missing that, yeah, and now they're not paying. So I canceled our Blue Cross Blue Shield policy and said, screw that, we're staying in Mexico.
Well, there you go. You got to find a way to take care of.
I was going to have to pay for the meds anyway, and we were too young for Medicare at the time. So it's not all of the decision. Nothing in life is like that black and white.
Right.
But it was one of the considerations that was high on the list for why we live in Mexico. It's not today because things have changed and it's 20 years.
You guys got all the situations.
It's 20 years later
worked out.
Yeah, but still
figured out what you need to do.
That was one of the first things that said, "Hey, let's take a really serious look at this
and see which way is more beneficial to what you guys need."
Yeah, and it's not a matter of living cheap down there. It's a matter of
living better.
Living better for the same money.
Yeah, and being healthy and getting what you need to take care of somebody. So on the flip side of things, a little bit, what do you guys mostly enjoy when you guys are down in Mexico?
Well, the food. We live in an area where a lot of retirees come down there, and then they get bored because they're not used to doing nothing. So I know a lot of people who never needed a daytimer until they retired. But you have people who used to own a restaurant or they were chefs or something. So they'll come down and they start a restaurant. So we have like really good restaurants where I live. I'm not talking about international cuisine. I have a Cajun restaurant. It's as good as anything you're going to get in New Orleans. We have there's a steakhouse. It's called Bruno's. Mm-hmm. And Bruno has passed. His daughter's running it. But Bruno always said he goes to Las Vegas 4 times a year, and he eats in the best 3 restaurants there. I've eaten in one of them that he used to list, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but I remember the bill was about $100 per person. Okay, and
it better be good.
Bruno says that he wanted to make sure that he's competitive. Okay, he used to work for Ruth's Chris. You know Ruth's Chris?
I don't.
Ruth's Chris is the name of a very good restaurant, and it's a chain around the States. But Ruth Chris is the name of the lady who started it down in Louisiana. And this guy used to work for her.
So if he worked for her, then he must be a good chef.
He makes a good steak, yeah.
He makes a good steak.
Yeah, it's called a baseball. It's about the size of a baseball, and it's a fillet. It's just really good. And then he goes by... my baked potatoes even better because I couldn't get those good Idaho bakers, so I had to work for these dang Mexican potatoes, and I had to work so hard to make them good. I just went a little farther and made them extra perfect.
Now, are these people that came from the United States and came down and opened up restaurants, or?
Yeah, that guy's Canadian.
I wonder how difficult it is to open businesses if you're. I mean, I guess you would become a resident there and then have to open up a business that way, right? You
Uh,
can't just come down like say 3 to 6 months out of the year and still be a United States citizen and resident of the United States, and then come down and open a restaurant for 6 months out of the year.
well, actually, you probably could, but
Oh,
it's not undoable, but it's might be a little complicated, and you might be better off to get a Mexican national as a partner,
okay,
because
got
that
it.
would open a lot of doors. And say if you jumped through a lot of hoops, you would have to jump
Right,
through.
right, right. A partnership.
Yeah.
You know how well those go.
Actually,
So,
I've had a couple that have gone extremely well, but I do know what you mean.
partnerships can be very difficult sometimes.
We had a younger couple who's were from Seattle, and his wife was Thai, not from Thailand, but she was of Thai descent. But they came down there just on vacation and decided that they ought to come down and start a Thai restaurant. So the story is that they flew to Thailand, talked to her grandparents or something, and talked Grandpa into coming with them to Mexico. So we have a Thai restaurant, it's called Simply Thai. They're not there anymore. They sold it to somebody else. But
Is it still a Thai restaurant?
uh, yeah, but it moved to a different location. Anyway, Simply Thai in Ajijic, Mexico. You can Google it. You'll probably get it. They started a Thai restaurant and brought the grandpa from Thailand to cook. Anyway, there's a lot of restaurants that are very, very good. So you asked me, the question was, what do I enjoy about that? And that's one of the things that we really enjoy. Now let's talk about the price of those meals.
Okay.
The steak I was talking about that's as good as Ruth's Chris.
Which you were paying $100 a plate for,
Well, it's
or
like,
certain plates, but
Ruth's Chris, it's like 40 for the steak, and then the baked potato is another 15, okay?
okay.
Yeah, that kind of place.
So that's a $55 meal in the States
Well, you
compared
include
to
the salad and the drinks. Anyway, yeah, that's a $10 or $12 meal down there. Okay?
hmm
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent price of us going to McDonald's and buying a meal.
Yeah, that's one of the things I get sticker shock on here. I got a picture of in Pueblo, Mexico. It's a Carl's Jr. and they have remember the $6 burger?
Yeah.
It says $6 burger in English
hmm
because it's a corporate thing.
Right, right, right.
And right next to it is the price, 90 pesos.
90.
It's a $6 burger, $9.
Which was equivalent to $6 at the time, or no?
Yeah, about. Speaking of, I got carried out of a McDonald's in Spain.
What? What did you do?
It's in Barcelona, Spain. In Spain, everything is marble. Okay, it's not tile; it's marble. So I'm in a McDonald's, and it's like marble walls and marble floors, and I'm thinking, "Wow, this is." And then I'm taking a video. This is in the 1990s.
hmm
I'm taking a video, and it says McPollo, and I'm pollo is chicken in Spanish.
Okay.
And I'm finding this very funny. It's not like McChicken; it's McPollo.
Make pollo.
I'm finding this kind of humorous, and I'm taking a video. I'm talking about it, and two guys pick me up, carry me out on the sidewalk, and say, "No photos, no photos."
Oh,
And,
because,
and I'm thinking, "Oh, what the hell? You think I'm going to steal this McDonald's idea and run off to America with it?"
right where it started at. So usually at this point, I kind of ask, what would be a message that you would send out to others that are first starting to come out on the road. Now I know you have lived full time in the past.
Mhm.
Right now you're not living full time in the RV, but I'm sure you have some suggestions for others that may be starting this lifestyle new.
Yeah, well, Nike summed it up.
Just do it.
Exactamente. Yeah.
That is the answer I get 99% of the time.
Well, I think that's because 99% of the people figured out that after they started doing it that they should have been doing it sooner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wish I would have started sooner.
Try it any way you can. It's not for everybody. It's like moving to Mexico or a foreign country. It's not for everybody. Sometimes you're going to find the frustrations outweigh the benefits. But there are people who come out here and I'm not talking about they have money or they don't have money or they live in a beat up van or they live in a whatever, okay? Something much nicer. I'm talking about their frustration level with regard to, and it doesn't matter if you're in mine or if you're in the beat up van, you're still going to have things to deal with.
Right.
And if your frustration level is too high, you're not going to like it.
Well, is the same comparison though as you have stuff to work on even if you live on the road or
Mhm.
even if you live in a house.
Mhm.
A house meaning sticks and bricks, 9 to 5 life, attached to the ground and don't move. In a vehicle, you have transmission, you got tires, you got fuel costs, you got rent costs to stay at places. Yes, some of them are cheaper than others of staying in a home.
Yeah, in your home, you got to mow the grass and fix the plumbing and, whatever. The deal is that if you're out here and you're a nomad life and you got wheels, you have something to blame. When you're sitting in the house and and you got a pummeling problem, you're not blaming the lifestyle. You're not saying, "Well, I'm having this problem because I'm living in a house." You're not saying it's my lifestyle that's the problem. But if you're out here and you get a flat tire, it's, "Oh, this lifestyle is frustrating."
Well, I think that's something that people use for an excuse because
Yeah,
it's not, it was your choice in the beginning, not yours per se, but the person's
yeah.
choice in the beginning to come out and do this lifestyle.
Well, as you know, and you will
Well,
certainly
yeah,
agree with me because you're doing it, we highly recommend it.
definitely. I would definitely recommend it to anybody. Some people have heard me say on past episodes is if, you have any questions whatsoever about this lifestyle, you can totally reach out to me and ask any
Yeah.
questions whatsoever. I don't know. I can't speak upon you, Jerry, but I have a feeling that if anybody asked you any questions about living here or in Mexico or anything in between, that you would give them the answers that you can give them from your experiences.
Yeah, that's part of the pleasure of of having a social media connection with people is being able to help. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all tuning in to another episode of Nomad Happy Hour. Again, this was Jerry. We met out here at Senator's Wash. One more time, tell us your YouTube channel.
JC Travel Stories, mostly about Mexico, except when I'm in the States, and then it's about RVing.
So, guys, if you see his channel over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, follow him, do what you can to get his likes up. Again, Jerry, we appreciate you coming by and telling us a little bit about your backstory and about Mexico and being out on the road.
El gusto es mío. The pleasure is mine.
Nomads out, keep the rubber side down.